Hello everyone, welcome to Rest Academy. And then today you're going to look at Microsoft Excel. So we've been going through this masterclass, which is called the MS Office Essentials Masterclass. And then we've gone through Microsoft Word. And then we're going through Microsoft Excel today. I know you guys have been waiting for this video for a long time, but we've now been able to put it together for you guys. So Microsoft Excel is basically a spreadsheet application. It's a spreadsheet application. It's used for calculations. It's used for data visualization. And then you can also use it for a lot of stuff, right? So over here, I have my Microsoft Excel opened, right? So right here, I'm using Excel 2016. So when you open it, this is the interface that you see. So fast forward, I'm going to take you through the interface of the software. Then we start working. So over here, you can see that this side of the page are my recent works, right? The works that I've been working with Excel. And then over here, you can start a new workbook, right? So any Excel project or Excel file is termed as a workbook. So these are some terminologies you're supposed to put in your head, that every Excel project or file is known as a workbook. So over here, you can start a new workbook. And then over here too, you have some beautiful commands, like the save as, the save, the print, and then export. These are 4 things that you're going to be needing very much. That's save as, print, and export. So just as the 80-20 rule says, most of the time, or 80% of the time, you're going to need just 20% of the knowledge that you have. So it means that you're not supposed to know everything about Microsoft Excel, but you're supposed to just know the ones that will keep you going, right? So fast forward, let's start a new workbook. So you're going to click on a blank workbook, or if you want, you can go to new, and then you can start, you see you have templates over here, or you can choose a blank workbook, or if you are lazy like me, you can just choose a blank workbook from the home page, and then fast forward the start. So when you choose a blank workbook, this is what you see. So I'm going to explain 2 terms over here. So just as I said, a project in Excel, or the entire Excel file that you create, is called a workbook, right? And then inside the workbook, you can have what we call sheets. So you can add sheets over here. So you can see we have sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3. So just imagine, just like you have any other book, maybe your notebook or something. So the book, the notebook itself is the book, right? But when you open it, you have different sheets. So let's say you are working for your school. Let's say you are keeping records for a school. So you can have one Excel project or an Excel workbook with the school's name, right? And then inside that workbook, you have different sheets. So every sheet is going to do something different. So let's say sheet 1 is going to keep the name of students, their students' numbers, their class, and maybe their parents' contact, right? So let's say sheet 1 is going to have, let's type something, student name, then student number, then let's say class, and the parents' contact, right? So let's format this here. So we can see that some of the text are overflowing through the cells. So in Excel, whatever, we have columns and rows. So a column is, vertical, can you see? And then a row is horizontal. So this is a row, and then this is a column. You see? So I'll come back to that, but I want to just demonstrate what the sheets are used for. So let's fast forward, edit this. We are going to expand the cells. So you can just double click here and it's going to expand. So double click, and then double click, right? So let's say this is what this sheet is going to do. But let's say sheet 2 is going to be used to monitor school fees, right? Like school fees. So sheet 1 is going to be like general information about each student. And let's say sheet 2 is going to be used for school fees. So let's say student's name, right? Student number, and then let's say amount payable, and then let's say we have, let's say balance. Maybe let's add arrears, and then maybe balance. I'm not a financial geek, so just in case I missed some of these terms, please forgive me. So let's expand the cells to make it look very beautiful. So you can see that, so we have one workbook, right? You are still here, so you can see the name is book 2. So we have one workbook, but we have 3 different sheets. So sheet 1 is general information about each student. So we have their names, their number, their class, their parents' contact. And sheet 2, we are going to use to track school fees to see. We have the student's name, the student number, amount payable, arrears, and balance. So these sheets have different purposes, but all are in the same workbook. You see, to keep things organized. So you can just save the workbook with the name of the school, and then every sheet will do something different so that everything will be what's quite organized. So I hope you understand the difference between a workbook and then a sheet, or a worksheet as some people call it. So fast forward, let's save our file. So to save the file, you can go to File, then Save As. So you choose your location. So probably this PC, and then let me select Documents. So I can save the name. So let me save it to maybe Ryan International School. We can save it anyhow, but this way I completed school, so basically I'm going to use that. So then you click save, and then that's it. Your file is saved. Now fast forward, let's move on to talk about the general properties of Excel that you should know. So I started with it. So in Excel, we have columns and rows. So columns are vertical. So this is a column, and then this is a row. Rows are horizontal, columns are vertical. So the intersection of a row and a column is known as a cell. To the layman, I would say that every box, so you can see that there are kind of some boxes here. So every single of these boxes is known as a cell, right? So this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell. Every single box you can see here is known as a cell in Microsoft Excel, right? So you can see that the columns have names. They have been labeled. You can see A, B, C, D, E, and then F throughout. So how many you can ever have. And then the rows also have numbers. So we have 1, 2, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then so on. So in Excel, every particular cell has a name, right? So the name of a cell is picked from the column it is found in, and then the row it is found on. So this particular cell that I've selected, and then for your information, every cell you select is called an active cell, right? The particular cell you are working in. So right now, this cell I've selected is known as an active cell. So it is the only cell I can work in, right? So if I start typing right now, it's going to appear in this cell. Do you get it? Okay, so the name of every cell is picked from the column it is found in and the particular row it is on. So with this cell, you can see it is found in column A, and then it is found on row 3. So the name of the cell becomes A3. So you can see over here, the name box displaying the exact name of the cell. So if I select this cell, so without looking at the name box, try to guess the name of the cell. So if I select this cell, you can see the cell is found in the J column, and then it is found on row 5, right? So then the name of the cell becomes cell J5. So if you check from the name box, you can see you have J5. If I select this cell right here, without looking at the name box, you can see that it's found in the K column and it's found on row 20. We can say that this cell is known as K20. So if you verify from the name box, you can see we have cell K20. So without looking at the name box, select any random cell and then try to guess the name of the cell. Then after, you can check from the name box and see whether you were correct or not. So see you in the other section as we continue. Okay guys, welcome back. I hope you loved the previous section. So in this section, we're going to actually be looking at a few things. So in the previous section, we looked at cell names, which is one of the most important concepts to work with Microsoft Excel or any spreadsheet application. The cell names are very important. So here, you're going to use this sheet I created. So I'm going to put in some dummy text, and then we are going to try to work around. So one of the most important things about using Microsoft Excel is that it's not necessarily to be used as a table, right? A table, Microsoft Word can do it. But the difference between this and a table in Microsoft Excel is that this has a programming behind that can help us in mathematical computations. It can help us in drawing graphs. It can help us in doing a lot of stuff very easily. So I'm going to teach you how to use Microsoft Excel in mathematical computations, right? So let's say we have 5 students. So let's say we have Michael. Let's do the student number 45, something like this. And let's say the amount payable is 456 in the 0.5. And let's say Michael have an arrears of 125. So let's say Enoch. Let's say Enoch has student number. Let's say amount payable is 800. Enoch has no arrears. Let's add 2 more people. Let's say John. John has student number here. And let's say amount payable is 750. And John is owing 400. And let's say you have Abner. Abner has student number. And let's say Abner amount payable is 900. And Abner is owing maybe 12. Right? So we want to find the balance. You see all these from this cell to this cell, the information over here are all general information, right? Probably the school you are working for has these informations about the students, their number, the amount they have to pay, and then the arrears. But with the balance or what they have to pay. I don't know if it's correct to use balance, but forgive me, right? I'm not a financial geek, but I'm using balance to represent the actual amount they are owing, right? So total amount. So we're going to say that the balance is going to be the addition of the amount payable and then the arrears, right? So this is the new debt, and this is what they are owing from the previous maybe semester. So the balance is going to be this plus this, right? So in Excel, you can just enter anything, just like in a calculator. I can say 456.5. Sorry. To enter any mathematical formula, I have to start with an equal to, right? Don't forget this. Always start with an equal to. If you are not entering just a number, but I want Excel to do some computations for you, you have to start with an equal to, right? So you can say equal to, let me say 456 plus 5, which is here. Then you can say plus 125 and then hit enter. And then you can see Excel has automatically calculated this for us, right? And then you can do so for this too. We can just say equal to 800 plus 0 and then hit enter and get 800 equal to 750 plus 400 enter equal to 900 plus 12 enter, and then it calculates for us. But can you guess a problem with this method? There's a problem over here. So let's say we check John and then later we realize that it's a mistake. John is not having any arrears, right? So we have to cancel it. So we just keep this to 0, but realize what? The balance didn't change. So it means John has to pay 1,150, even though he doesn't have any arrears. He has to pay 750, but he's now paying 1,150 because there was a mistake. And then you don't want this to happen because there's going to be a lot of problems with that. So Excel has a better way for doing things. So you don't have to actually enter the digits manually like this. So this is going to be problematic when you have to change something, or if there's a mistake somewhere, you have to do a lot of changes, which is going to be very difficult if you have a sheet with, let's say, 500 rows. You're going to get tired with that. So let's do it the right way. Okay. So the right way to do it is to use the names of the cells. So this is where cell names are important, right? So just like we did the addition, we're going to add this plus this, but instead of entering 456.5 plus 125, we are going to actually use the name of the cells. So we are going to say equal to, so I hope you can guess the name of this cell. So this cell is C2 plus, so you can just click on it and then Excel gives you, so plus D2. So what this is doing is that this is telling Excel that add whatever is in cell C2 to whatever is in cell D2. So we click enter, it gives us 581.5. But this is a catch. If we change anything, it's going to also reflect in the balance. So let's say we change this from 125 to, let's say, 100, and we hit enter. So I'm going to monitor what happens to the balance. So the moment you hit enter, you realize that balance is also updated. So it means that if there is a mistake somewhere, you don't have to manually change anything because you didn't hard code this thing, or you didn't enter the numbers manually, but you use the cell names. The moment anything changes in any of the cells, Excel is going to also update your results for you, which is going to save you a lot of work. So let's continue. So this is cell C3, and cell D3. So we are going to add them. We have equal to C3 plus D3, and then we hit enter, and then there is your answer. So if we are supposed to change this also to, let's say, 150, and we hit enter, you realize that immediately the balance changes from 800 to 950. Excel is going to update it for us automatically. So this is cell C4 and then D4. So we have equal to C4. So the cell names are case insensitive, right? You can actually use capital C or small c. All of them is going to work. So we have plus D4 and press enter, and we have 1150. And then we are going to do equal to cell C5 plus cell D5, and we hit enter, and then Excel does a work. So this is a basic computation with Excel. So this is summation. So we're going to have a break, and then the next section we are going to look at how to use all the other operators. We are going to look at how to use so if you looked at addition, we're going to look at subtraction, we're going to look at division, and then the modulus, right? Then after, I'm going to look at some basic and very important functions in Excel that are going to save you a lot of time. Then the last thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at sorting. So give yourself a break, and I'm going to see you in the next section. Okay guys, welcome back, and then thank you very much for staying up to this point of the course. If you haven't subscribed to the Rest Academic channel, I highly recommend that you subscribe so that you help us grow this channel. And then also, the moment we drop any other course, we'll be one of the first people to receive it. So do also to turn on the notification bell, and then give this video a thumbs up, right? So guys, let's continue. So in our previous video, we were looking at computations with Excel, and we did a lot of additions. So I promise I'm going to do subtractions, and then you're going to also do some divisions, right? So let's go right in it. So we are having a spreadsheet over here. I think you can format this a little. You can just select these top cells and then hit bold so that they'll stand out a little. And whenever you have a situation like this where the text in a particular cell is overflowing, you can just left click and then expand the cell. But because this is too big, if you want it to exactly fit the longest text in that particular column, you can just double click, and then it fits exactly perfect. So we can also I love things to be centered, so I can just use the align center, to put everything in the center to make it more beautiful to the eye, right? Okay, so let's continue. So we have I didn't center this part. Okay, so we have, let's see, the expenses of a man named John. So this is, let's say, the man trying to track his expenses. So we have the income, we have the expenditure, and then the balance. So the balance is the actual amount he still has after all his expenditure. So after this, we are going to check whether this is a budget deficit. That means he has ended up in debt, or this is a budget surplus. That means he has, a lot of money left. Forgive me if I use the wrong terms. I'm not a financial geek. My job here is to teach you the technicalities of Microsoft Excel. So please stay put. So let's continue. So to find the balance, that's the money he has left after his expenditure. it means we are supposed to subtract the expenditure from the income, right? So let's say 25th December, Mr. John earned 200 Ghana cedis, but because it was Christmas, he decided to spend 1,500. Wow, I think Mr. John would have been chilling with his wife. Okay, so let's continue. So on 26th, he has an income of 250, he spends 2,000. On 29th, he has an income of 0, but yet he spends 300 cedis. Then on 30th December, he has an income of 250, but he spends 100 cedis. Then on 3rd January, he makes 250, and then he spends 100. So to find the balance, I'm going to subtract the expenditure from the income. So I thought you had to do addition. It's the same thing with subtraction. So we can say equal to, and then we hit the cell names. So this cell is cell B2, right? So cell B2 minus cell C2. You can say B2, minus C2, and then hit enter. So we have minus 1,300. So Mr. John is already owing. Mr. John is already owing some money. So let's continue. So we have equal to cell B3 minus cell C3 minus 1,007. So, okay, let's continue. Equal to cell B2 minus cell B4 minus cell C4. Then we have equal to cell C5 minus cell D5. Sorry. So D5 minus cell C5. Okay. Then we have finally cell B6 minus cell C6. And then basically you have this. So one benefit of using the cell names is that if anything changes, it's going to be updated accordingly. So let's say we made a mistake. It was supposed to be 200. We made it 2,000. So we just win 10 and enter, and you can see that it is updated. So let's say this was supposed to be 150. And then you can see that it was updated accordingly, right? So maybe let's add total, right? So maybe let's call this cell total. And let's bolden it a little. Let's make it bold, right? So we're going to sum everything over here, right? So the total of this column, that's from here to here, we can say equal to, so we have cell B2 to cell B6, right? We can say B2 plus B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus B6. Ups. Equal to B2 plus B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus B6. Yep, I have 950. We have equal to, so this is cell B2 to B6, right? So you have B3 plus B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus it's supposed to be C, rather. So C2 plus C3 plus C4 plus C5 plus C6, and then enter. We have 850. So this is D2 to D6, right? So we have the total. So don't forget to start with an equal to. So you can try this out, and then you compare your answers. If you are stuck, don't worry. Just go back to the video, look out for it, and they are going to do very, very, very well. Okay, so let's continue. So we have cell D2 to D6, right? So we have D2 plus D3, D2 plus D3 plus D4 plus D5 plus D6 plus D7 plus to D6, right? If you enter, and then we have 100. So you can see that his total income was 950. Let's center this as well. Okay. You can see his total income was 950, and then he spent 850, and then he has a balance of 100 cedis in his wallet. So I think Mr. John is doing pretty well. Not very great, but I think Mr. John is doing pretty well. At least he's not owing anybody money, right? Okay, so that was basically how to do some additions and subtractions. So how we found the total is not the best way to do it, right? So just imagine you have 900 columns. Probably, let's say the income and expense sheets of Mr. John for the entire year. So that's going to be like 365 columns. And then entering all 365 columns, 365 cells one by one is going to be very, very difficult and then tiresome. But thank God there's a better way to do it. So I'm going to show you a better way to do that later. But in the meantime, we're going to go and we're going to learn how to use the division and then other things. Then from there, when we start with functions, I want to show you the best way to do that, right? Okay, so I've prepared another sheet. So sheet 3 is something very basic. Okay, so let me format this also a little. Align center. And then let me select everything on the first row. Let me make it bold. Okay, so that's nice. So this is called a student score sheets, right? So we have every student has his scores, score 1, score 2, and then this column is for the average score, right? So to find the average in math, average is, to find the average of two items. So you sum the items first and divide it by 2. So if there are 4 items, you sum all the 4 items and you divide it by 4. If there are 10 items, you sum all the 10 items and divide by 4. So that's how you find the average, right? So let's go on and find the average. So with this, we can say equal to, so we have B2 plus C2. But because we want to divide the summation, right? So we can put this in brackets. Sorry. So if I put this in brackets, right, you can say, oh, what am I doing? So you can say equal to, then brackets, you can say B2 plus C2. Then you divide everything. That's the answer you get divided by 2, right? So let me break this down. So the one in the brackets is the summation, and then we're dividing the summation by 2. If we take away the brackets, it's going to look like B2 plus C2 over 2, which means that you're going to divide C2 by 2, and then after that you add the results to B2, which is going to be wrong for the average, right? So this is basic mathematical order of operation. So let's bring back the brackets. Okay. Yep. So if you hit enter, then we find the average. It's 70.5. That's a pretty good average. So let's do the same for John. We have equal to, so don't forget the brackets. So we have B3 plus C3, and then after we divide everything by 2. Then we have Jude. So Jude is on column B4, right? So equal to, we have B4 plus C4, all divides 2. And then hit enter. So let's do the same for Jane. So Jane, we have equal to, so you have cell B5 plus cell C5, and then you divide the results by 2, right? Then you have Abigail. So let's do the same for Abigail. So we have equal to, so Abigail is on B6, right? So we have cell B6 plus cell C6. Then we divide everything by 2. That's a pretty good average. Then you have Florence, so equal to cell. So this cell is cell B7, right? So B7 plus C7. Then we'll divide everything by 2. And then we find their averages. So you can see that this class, everyone is doing pretty well. The least average is what? 69.5. And that's very impressive. So fast forward, we are going to look at better ways to do this thing we just did. So we cannot keep on doing this, right? What if there was a third score? Or what if we had like 200 students? We're going to have to, enter every cell name one by one, and then that's pretty tiring, right? And boring to do. So Excel has got you. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, give yourself some relaxation, and then in the next section, we're going to look at functions. That's the best way to solve problems in Excel, using functions, and then you're going to love it so much. So I hope you are doing well so far in the course. If there's anything you're not understanding, you can go back and rewatch the video. But if you don't still understand, you can drop a question in the comment section, and I'm going to do well to reply or answer your question for you. So see you in the next section. Okay guys, welcome back. So in the beginning of the video, I told you that there was a better way to add a lot of values, right? So in the beginning, we're looking at adding them one after the other, like so probably cell A2 plus A3 plus A4 plus A5 plus A6 plus A7. I think that So what you can do is that there's a function called sum, right? So let's say I'm going to enter the total. So you can see equal to, right? Then we enter the sum function, and then we can say that we are summing. So you can sum any numbers. So you can see A2, comma A3. Then we're going to sum both of them. And the one, if we want to sum a lot of numbers, you don't have to enter them one by one. You can say sum, and then so let's say from A2 to A8, right? So we say A2 colon A8. So this one means that, so colon means that start the sum from A2 and end at A8. So when we click enter, it's going to sum everything here. So we can also say equal to sum. So we are summing from B2 to B8, right? So we can say B2 colon B8. Then enter, right? Then we can say equal to sum. So C3 colon C8. Then we close the brackets, then enter. So very embolding everything here. Yep. So basically that's how to use the sum function. So in the next section, I want to look at more functions and their base. Welcome guys to the next section. So I hope you did very well with being there, right? So I hope you've gone over everything. So we are going to look at some basic Excel functions that are very useful. And as I said, these are the 20% of Excel you're supposed to know to get started around, right? So before I start, I would like to format this thing a little. So over here, I'd like to merge these cells into one. So I'll just select all these cells. And then you can see there's merge over here. You can choose merge across. You can just merge the cells, but I love merge and center, so that after merging it centers everything. So you can just click here, merge and center, and then it merges it. I think it makes it look more beautiful, right? Yep. So this is a small data visualization we are doing. So we want to find the least score in every subject, the highest score, and then the average score in every subject, right? So the number of students is obvious. You can look from here and realize that the cell ends at 7. So you can see that we have 7 students over here. So, 7. I know this is not best practice to do, but, for the meantime, so the least score. So probably because these are not many, we can just look through and see that the least score is 64, right? But if you had like 500 students, how will you be able to look through everything and check the least score? It's going to take a lot of time. So Excel has a function named min, that's min. So as usual, if you want to start any Excel function, you start with an equal to, right? If you want to do any computations, anything with Excel, you start with an equal to. Don't forget that. So the function name is min, M-I-N, right? So we can find the minimum of 2 numbers or any amount of numbers. So you can see, So you can say 12, that's the first number. So you can see it's giving us how to use it. So comma, and then the second number, let's say 24. So we want to find the minimum number between 12 and 24. So we know that 12 is less than 24, right? So if we hit enter, so it returns 12, which means 12 is the least number, right? But over here, we want to find the least number between 7 different cells. So how do we do that? So we can go the long route by using min. So I'm going to use cell B2 to cell B7, right? So you can say B2, comma B3, comma B4, comma B5, comma B6, comma B7, and then let's close the bracket. So when you hit enter, it returns 64. But also, this is not best practice. Why? So if you have 200 cells, will you enter everything? So that's going to be tedious. So now, let's look at the best way to do this. So the best way to do this is use equal to. So the same function. So we can say from cell B2 to cell B7, right? So how do we say that? So we can say B2 colon B7. So the colon is telling Excel that starts from cell B2 and end in cell B7. So keep it in your head. Anytime you see a colon in an Excel function, it's trying to tell Excel that starts from the left and then end on the right, right? So let's say if you had 200, you can say cell B2. So you return the same 64, right? So let's say we had 200 cells. You can just say from cell B2 to cell B200, and it's going to do everything. But because you have nothing, you still enter, and then you can see that there's nothing to show because there's nothing in cell B200. You get it? So let's return it to cell ops. What am I doing? So we can say cell B2 colon cell B7 and then hit enter, and it's going to return 64, which is the least value over there. So with the highest, we have another function called max for maximum. So we can say max. So basically max is used just like the minimum, right? So you can either say, so maximum 47,67, and then we know 67 is greater than 46, right? When it enter, it returns 67 as the maximum. We want to find a maximum number in math, right? So let's see. So we're going to use max. So remember, so cell B2, equal to first, so equal to, then max. So we have cell B2 to cell B7, and then so we know that the greatest over here is 95, right? When you hit enter, it returns 95. I guess that's pretty easy. So we want to find the average score. So we want to find the average score. You can add everything here and divide by 7, which is going to be very tedious like we did for each of these. But there's a short form just to use a function. And then there's a function called average, right? So you can also find the average of two numbers. So let's find the average of 95 and 46, right? So we know it's 70.5. So we have 95, 46, and we have 70.5 over there, right? So we want to find the average of these 7 cells. So how do we do it? So just like, so we have average. So I'm going to say cell B2 all the way to cell B7. So what it's saying is that find the average. So from cell B2 to cell B7, every number that is there, find the average of all those numbers. So when we hit enter, we have 82.166667. And then that is the average we have. So your assignment is to go on and then do everything. So find the least score for science, the highest score, and then the average score also for science. So do it and then see however you do. Okay. So I'm going to see you in the last section. So see you there. Okay guys, welcome back to the last section we're going to look at. So thank you very much for staying to the end of the course, and I want to tell you that you are doing pretty much great, right? So if you are still not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do well to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and then I'll see you in another video. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to look at is sorting, right? So let's say you have a score sheet like this, and then you want to, give the positions to students, as in those who did better, those who didn't do better. So what you do is that you first decide what do you want to sort the data based on, right? So basically I want to sort the data based on the average score, right? So what I'm going to do is that you select all the average scores, and then you go and you select sort and filter, right? Then we sort from, you can sort from smallest to largest. So I want to expand the selection so that the average score will move with the name and then everything. We could sort like this. So we see that Florence now becomes first with the average score of 69.5. We can also decide to sort from largest to smallest. So we're going to expand the selection, and then we have Abigail coming first. So this is going to be the easiest. So we know that Abigail becomes first, then Jude becomes second because they are sorted, third, fourth, and then sixth, right? So after that, I would like to also sort the names in alphabetical order. So let's select all the names. So we can sort. So sort from A towards Z. They are going to still expand the selection, and then we realize that so Abigail now comes first with the highest score first, then Florence, Sis, Jean fourth, then John third, Jude second, and then Michael fifth. So this is basically the 20% of Excel that you are going to need almost 80% of the time. So I know you're not going to be an expert at Excel, but if you've never touched Excel, I hope by this time you have been able to know your left from your right, and then it's going to help you very much. So this is our Excel Essentials course. And then I know if you guys want us to do a more deeper course in Excel or advanced Excel, please do well to drop it in the comment section, and I'm going to put up a video on advanced Excel about, drawing graphs, deeper data visualizations. I'm going to show you how to use more functions, and then, a lot of stuff. So this is the end of the Excel Essentials course. My name is Michael from Rest Academy. Please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel, drop a like, and then I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.